Hi there, in this video I'm going to show you how to cut and sew this two-piece. I'm going to show you how to cut the shirt and also how to cut the short. So let's begin. So this is the fabric I'm going to be using for mine, and also this is a 6 yards fabric and it's by 45. And also you have your tape and you have your pattern and your scissors and your chalk, and you're good to go. So let's begin. So first of all, at this point, I'm going to be cutting out the front part of the shirt first of all, before we go ahead and then cut the back. So my fabric is on fold, and you have to fold it in such a way that once you place your pattern paper in the center like this, you have a space in between, right? Yeah, so that's just it. So right now, I'm just trying to test it out and be sure that the space I'm leaving in between is enough for me, because this is going to be a bigger shirt, so that's why. So right now I'm just going to mark out 2 inches in front, or 2.5 inch in front. So just mark that out on the other side of the fabric that you folded. Okay, this fabric is seriously too much of a print, that's why I'm not really seeing what is happening, but that's what I'm doing and that's what I'm telling you guys. So just mark that out. So that point now is going to save as a point that you're going to use to insert your buttons. So the next thing is for us to go ahead and then use our ruler and draw the line and just connect all of the dots together so that we can start cutting out the front shirt. So if you do not have this pattern or you don't know how to make this, please check out my channel. There is a video on my channel that's going to show you how to create these basic bodies from the beginning to the end. Alright, so what I'm doing right now is just placing the pattern on top of that line that we just drew. That's what I just did now, because that is where the front part is going to start from. No longer from the edge of the fabric that we folded, but on that line that we just drew. So after doing that, I'm going to be marking out 2 inches by the side. But on this video, I used 3 inches, but later on I found out that the shape was just too big. So I had to cut out 1 inch from it. Alright, so right now I'm just going to be marking out that 2 inches around it, and I'm also going to add some inches too. That is 2 inches below the pattern paper, so that it can be a bit longer than what we have here. So that is just it. And now these 2 inches including, I'm just going to sew it down like that, no sewing allowance, because it's already large enough for me to use for me to use sewing allowance from it. Okay, so right now you're just going to go ahead and then draw the lines and then connect them together, and that is just it. So the next thing I'm going to do is just to cut them out. So right now the person I'm making this for has a bust of 41 and the hips is 33. So yeah, she's quite very busty. So right now I'm just going to cut them out, starting from the front part, and also we'll move over to the neckline and to the shoulder, the arms, and the rest. So at this point now, after cutting it out, I'm going to come over to the armhole, and because I don't want it to be quite seated just like how mine is, okay, because it's quite a big shirt, so I'm just going to be marking down 2 inches from that point. I'm just going to mark 2 inches around, but I'm not going to take the 2 inches over to where the shoulder is. So from this point, from this curved point, I'm just going to draw the line and then finish it up at that curved point. Then I'm just going to go ahead and then cut it out. Okay, so having it in mind that this person is quite busty and this is going to be a big shirt, so the armhole is not necessarily going to be fitted underneath the arm, so I'm just going to do this just to make it a little bit free. Okay, so that's why I'm doing this. So after doing that, the next thing is for us to go ahead and then cut out the back piece. So at this point now, my fabric is already on fold, and here is what you're going to do. So I'm just going to fold this. I'm just going to place the front piece on top of the back piece like this, and also note the part that we place this on top. Okay, be sure that this other side is not split into two. Okay, like it's just round. So you notice this line that we drew where we marked out the 2.5 inches in front. So what you're going to do is to make sure that that line aligns with that point, and then we just place the front part like that over it, because we're not going to be needing that 2.5 inches at the back. So that's why we are doing this, so that we can eliminate that part. So once you do that, the next thing is just for us to go ahead and then cut out the main bodies out, avoiding the neckline, because we're going to be also using our pattern to cut out our neckline. So we only do this so that we can be able to cut out the bodies, so that the bodies will be able to match with that of the front. Okay, so that's the only reason why we are doing this. So the next thing is for us to at least take out this front part, and then we are going to bring in our pattern paper and then place it on top of it like this. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is this. If once you place it on top of it like this, you then go ahead and then align the shoulder point with the shoulder of your fabric. Okay, now the back piece has a zipper allowance. So what you're going to do is to move that zipper allowance the same way you did with the front part. Okay, make sure that line aligns with that the edge of the back. So that's just the only thing. So you can take out that zipper allowance and then you just cut out the neckline. It's as simple as that. And you just have your back piece ready in one piece. There is no opening at the back. Okay, so that's just how it's supposed to look like. So the next thing is for us to mark out the sleeves. And for the sleeves, I folded this fabric like this into four. Okay, this is four different pieces. Okay, just fold your fabric like this into four. And then we are going to be marking out the length. So the length I'm going to be using here is 17 inches. That's how long it's going to be. So I'm going to be marking out that 17 inches on top, and then I'm just going to roll a line and then connect them together. So the next thing is for me to cut it out so that I can proceed in cutting out the sleeves. So at this point now, I'm just going to draw out the slope for the sleeves so that I can just cut it out. So I'm just using the oldest method on how to cut out the sleeve. That's what I'm doing. I learned this from my mom a very long time ago. So that's what I'm using to cut this out. Okay, and it's just the easiest and fastest way to do this. I mean, except you know how to cut out sleeves on a normal day, this is how it's going. This one is going to be much easier and faster for you. So that is just it. So as you're cutting it out, be sure that you leave out ½ inch on top of it, so at least you can have what to use to attach it to your main to the main bodies. So at this point now, I've folded the fabric, and the fabric is folded into two because you're going to cut out the front part of the shorts first of all. So right now I'm just going to be marking out 2 inches on top of this, which was seriously not necessary because I ended up cutting it out again later on in the video. So you can definitely skip this step because you might not really be needing this. Okay, so at this point now, I'm just going to mark out the distance from her waistline to her hip line. So I'm going to be marking out that line from that point I just drew. So yeah, so for you, you can definitely mark that out from the beginning of your fabric. Okay, so yes, so I'm just going to mark that out, and I'm just going to draw the line and then connect those dots together. The next thing is for me to mark out from her waistline down to where you have the crouch line. So yes, I'm just going to go ahead and then mark that out, and then I'm just going to draw the lines and just connect them together. So the reason why I said you don't really need that 2 inches I drew on top was because if I had started from the beginning and then cut out the 15 inches for her crouch line, okay, it would be much better because both the elastic allowance and the normal waistline started from the 15 inches. So this was a mistake. Okay, marking the 15 inches. So I'm marking that 2 inches and then marking 15 inches from that line down. I don't know if you understand. So that was just it. So you don't need that 2 inches on top. So the next thing I'm going to do right now is to mark out her hip circumference and also her waist circumference. So I'm going to be using 40 inches. I'm going to divide that by 4 and I'm going to mark that out on the hip line and also on the waist line. So why I'm using 40 inches is because she didn't want it to be fitted on her body. So during the measurement, she preferred the 40 inches. So that's why I'm using 40 inches here for her. So don't be confused. So at this point now, I'm going to be marking out the same measurement I had on the hip line, on the crouch line. then I'm going to be adding 3 inches to that. So also note that you can definitely add more than this, probably 4 or so. So if you are someone that is much bigger than that, you can definitely add an allowance to this. So I'm not going to be adding any allowance to this because definitely I'm going to be using 1/2 inch to close this up. So, and since it's 40 inches, it's quite big enough for her, so it's not really going to really take out from it. So if yours is bigger than this, then you can definitely, sorry, if your size is directly 40 inches, then you can just add 1/2 inches or 1 inches to it as an allowance. Okay, so right now for the crouch line, I'm just going to mark 1 inch outwards there. Then I'm going to, from the hip line, just try to draw a line and then draw that curve directly to where we have that 1 inch out, and then we're just going to finish it off at the crouch line. So that will now form our crouch curve. Sorry for that noise, guys. So guys, at this point now, I later realized that I didn't open up this other part. Okay, and since I'm going to be opening these parts up so they can form the main trouser, then that means I'm going to be adding 1 inch to do towards this other area so that it can help this other area. Okay, so that once we attach it to the opposite side, it would not have any problem. So right now I'm just adding that 1 inch, and then I'm just going to go ahead and then cut it out. So after doing that, at this point now, I'm going to go ahead and then cut out this point, because remember I told you guys earlier in the video that this line that I inserted here wasn't really necessary. So cutting this out now is going to make it very much better, because that line was supposed to save as where I'm going to be inserting the elastic, but so far it now made the crouch line to be much longer, so that's why we did not need it. So at this point now, I'm just going to cut out the back piece from this. So guys, since I'm going to be cutting out the back piece with this, what I'm going to be doing is to place the front piece on top of a folded fabric like this, and then we're just going to go ahead and cut it out. And also towards this other side, towards the crouch line, please be sure to add 2 inches to it before you cut it out. Okay, don't cut it directly the way I'm doing this. This is because her original hip is 33, but then she went for 40. So cutting it out like this is not going to really affect her measurements. Okay, it's still going to give her the same effect that she's going for. So that's why I'm doing this. So please, if your hip is quite larger, or if it's 40 directly, please add 2 inches to it before you cut it out. So at this point now, to achieve this other area of the leg, just like how you're seeing on the picture, I'm going to fold this part over like this, and this is 1.5 inches. Okay, so folding it over like this, I'm just going to go ahead, use my ruler, draw a line on that part so that we can cut it out. Okay, don't worry, we're going to replace it very soon. The next thing is to get a fabric like this, separate fabric, and fold it over like this. So this is now 2 inches. Okay, with including 1/2 inch, so I can be able to have what to use and sew it on. Then you're going to bring in that part that you cut out from the lower parts of the short, and then you're going to place it on top of that particular part that you just folded, and then just cut it out. Okay, but be very sure that it is on fold. Okay, so just going to go ahead and then fold it and then cut it out. Okay, according to how many pieces that you have for your short. So since it's 4 pieces, I'm just going to be cutting out 4 pieces for the different sides of the short. And it's also the same thing I'm going to be doing to the sleeves. Okay, the sleeve had the same thing, so I'm going to be using this same format also to cut out for the sleeve. But one thing about the sleeve is that I'm just going to be cutting out only 2 pieces for the sleeve, because the sleeve is joint at the center. Okay, it's not split at the center. So at this point now, I'm going to be cutting out this white stuff. So if you notice on the picture, the hand and also the lower part of the short has it, so that's what we're going to be using this for. So I'm just going to be cutting out 1/2 inch of this. Okay, 1/2 inches of this into 4 different places. So don't mind how big it is. I'm going to come back and then trim this off. So that's just to have it in mind. That's what I'm going to be cutting out 1/2 inch of this. So the next thing is for us to prepare the shorts before sewing them together. So what I'm going to be doing now is to place the short like this. Okay, that's one side of it, that's half of it. And then I'm going to bring in this white stuff that we just cut out, the half inner we just cut out. Then I'm going to fold it over like this. Okay, so you can definitely cut out 1 inch on this, so you can be able to have what to use and so on. Okay, so right now you're going to place it like this, and then you're going to bring in this other half that we cut out. Okay, then you're going to fold it over like this and then place it on top of it. And also be sure that you're folding it over on the right side while the wrong side stays inside. Okay, then you're going to place it on top and then sew it down, so that once you flip it over like this, you will have this white stuff in between. So once you're done, you should have something that looks like this. Okay, as you can see, the white is at the center and I sewed it down on top. So once you open it up like this, you have this white stuff here in between the two of them. All right, so that is just it. So remember that this other part is on fold, this other smaller part that we joined is folded. So I've also done it I've also done the same thing to the other parts of the short. So now it's time for us to go ahead and then join the short together. So I'm going to place it like this, and then we are going to sew it down on the crouch line using 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to also do the same thing to the other parts of the short. I'll place it over like this and then sew it down using 1/2 inch. So once you're done, you should have something like this. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be doing is to bring in the other parts of the short, and then sorry, the other half, and then I'm going to just place it on top like this. Then I'm going to sew it down on the sides using 1/2 inch, and then I'm also going to sew the crouch line also, and just sew it down also using 1/2 inch or 1 inch, depending on the allowance that you used or the allowance that you inserted. So you just sew it down and also sew down the sides. The next thing is for us to create the channel that we are going to pass our elastic through. So what I'm going to do now is to fold this over like this. Since I'm using a 1 inch elastic, I'm going to fold this over, and this is 1.5 inches. So I'm also going to fold it over again, another 1.5 inches. All right, then we're going to sew it down, then leaving out a little bit of space so we can be able to pass our elastic through. So the reason why I make use of the same measurements, the same hip measurements on the waist, is because we are going to be using an elastic on this. So since it's going to be an elastic, so we can be able to pull it down. If the waist is smaller than the hips, you might experience friction while trying to pull it down. Okay, as in it might be tight while trying to pull it down through your hip, because it's not the same measurement. So it can either be the same measurement with your hip, or something a little bit bigger than your hip. Okay, so that is just it. So I just prefer going with my hip measurement, it's just safer. So at this point, I'm just using my safety pin to just pass the elastic through the space that we created for it. So after that, it's time for us to sew this down. So instead of placing it like this, okay, you open it up and then place one on top of the other one like this, and then you're going to sew it down. Okay, just make a little bit of box around this. That's how you're going to sew it, and that way it's going to be very much easier for you, so that it can sit properly inside the shorts. So moving on to the shirt part, right now I'm going to be marking 2 inches upwards, that's towards the side, and then I'm going to draw that line and then curve it down towards the front part. Okay, it's not really going to get down to the front part, but I'm just going to curve it down towards that part, and I'm just going to finish before we get to the front part. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to be doing this so that we can have that shirt curve by the side. So that's just the only thing. So right now you're just going to go ahead and then cut it out. So the next thing is for us to create the other part that we're going to use to insert our buttons. So remember the line that we drew. Okay, so you can also go ahead and then draw the same line towards the other part, so you'll not be confused. So what we're going to do is to fold in that 1/2 inch. So remember we marked out 2.5 inches. So fold in that 1/2 inch and then bring it up to that line that we drew, and then you're just going to sew it down. So that's just the only thing. Okay, so you're going to sew it down on this part, that's on the 1/2 inch. Then you're also going to sew down on this other side also. Okay, so that is just it. So this is it, I'm done sewing it. So once you place it over like this, your neckline will now sit properly the way it's supposed to. So the next thing is for us to place the back piece on top of it like this, and then we are going to sew down the shoulder point. So right now you're going to go ahead and then prepare the sleeve, because after sewing down the shoulder we are going to attach the sleeve to it. So you're going to prepare the sleeve. Remember how we did, and remember how we prepared the short, the lower part of the short. It is the same thing that we are going to be doing to the sleeve. So we're going to place that white stuff in between, and then we are going to attach this other one to it. So that is just the only thing on the both sleeve. So for that white stuff, for mine, I made use of a cotton material. Okay, it has a little bit of stretch to it, but then you can use a white bias if you have it. So the next thing is for us to go ahead and attach the sleeve to the main bodies. Then after that, we're going to be inserting our collar. So I'm going to be doing that off camera. I'm going to be linking a video down, or you can check on my channel. There is a video I have on my channel that's going to illustrate or show you how to attach how to cut and attach the collar to your shirt. Okay, so I'm going to be doing that offline for this video. All right, so you can check that video out. It's going to help you. So this is how it's looking like after I have finished attaching the collar to this. Okay, so the next thing is for you to go ahead and then create your buttonholes. So if you do not know how to create buttonholes, I have a video also on my channel that is going to show you how to create buttonholes, okay, using your normal sewing machine. So the next thing is for us to go ahead and then close the side seams, and then also finish off the hemline. So for the hemline, I'm going to be using 1 inch to close that. That is, I'm going to fold it ½ inch on ½ inch to close it. I don't know if you understand, but that's how I'm going to be closing that. And once you're done, insert your buttons and you're good to go. So this is the final look, guys. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Share this video with your friends. So this very one I'm wearing now is my own. This is my own size, because this fabric was actually a uniform. So this was the one I made for myself, but I did not film it while making that one. So it was when I now made for that my friend, that was when I now filmed that one. Okay, so guys, yeah, that is just it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel yet. And until next time, I will see you guys. Bye guys.